My roommate pretended to be my best friend, but when I fell for the guy she liked, she started playing dirty. Little did she know, I don't lose easily. I still remember the day Mia moved in with me. She had this energy that could light up a whole room. Everyone liked her instantly and sweet, funny, effortlessly cool. I thought having her as a roommate would make college life easier. I was wrong. At first, it was perfect. We stayed up talking about everything. Our past crushes, our crazy dreams, our fears. She'd sit on her bed brushing her long brown hair while I painted my nails, and we'd gossip about everyone in our dorm. She even helped me decorate my side of the room with fairy lights and Polaroids. It really felt like we were sisters. Then came Ethan. He was in my economics class, tall, confident, with this easy charm that made everyone notice him. I remember one morning, Mia saw him waiting outside the library and whispered, "He's totally your type." I laughed and said, "Yeah, maybe." But I didn't know how right she was. Over time, I started catching myself smiling at my phone whenever he texted, fixing my hair when I saw him in the hallway. Mia teased me about it constantly, pretending to be my wing woman. "You should totally talk to him," she'd say. "You're overthinking it." One night, we were studying together when Ethan called. I picked up, trying to act casual. Mia's eyes sparkled as she mouthed, "Go on, answer him." After the call, she asked every detail. What he said, how I felt, if I thought he liked me too. It felt like she cared. But little did I know. Every time I told her something about him, she was making her own move behind my back. I first noticed it when Ethan canceled one of our library meetups, saying he was busy. Later that evening, I saw a new photo on Mia's story, her at the campus cafe, sitting across from someone with a familiar blue jacket. Ethan's jacket. My stomach twisted, but I brushed it off. Maybe it was just a coincidence. The next day, she acted normal, laughing, helping me pick outfits, even teasing me about my crush. I wanted to believe she was still my friend, but deep down, something had shifted. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something, and I was right. What would you do if your roommate started hanging out with the person you liked without telling you? The next few days passed like nothing had happened, at least on the surface. Mia was still her usual cheerful self, borrowing my hair straightener, humming songs while getting ready, asking if I wanted to order pizza, but something about her felt off. It was in the way she'd glance at her phone and smile, or how she'd suddenly turn it face down when I walked in. I tried to ignore it. Maybe she was just texting someone else. Maybe I was overthinking because I liked Ethan too much, but that tiny seed of doubt kept growing. One evening, I came back early from class. Mia wasn't in the room. Her laptop was open on her desk, music playing softly. I wasn't snooping, I swear, but a chat notification popped up on her screen. It was from Ethan. My heart stopped. The message read, "Last night was fun. Let's do it again." I froze. My hands went cold. I stared at the message until it disappeared. My throat tightened, but I forced myself to breathe. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe they were just studying together. I wanted to believe that. When Mia came back, she acted like nothing was wrong. She plopped on her bed and said, "You wouldn't believe what happened at class today," laughing as if everything was normal. I smiled weakly and pretended to listen, but inside, I was crumbling. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying every moment. The cafe photo, the canceled plans, the secretive texts. By morning, I decided I needed the truth. So I asked her, straight out, "Mia, are you talking to Ethan?" Her eyes widened for half a second, then she laughed. That nervous, high-pitched laugh she did when she was lying. "Oh my God, no. Why would you even think that?" I shrugged. "I just saw your story the other day. You guys were together." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, that? I ran into him at the cafe, that's all. You're so paranoid, babe." Maybe she was right. Maybe I was paranoid. But her tone, the way she brushed it off, it felt rehearsed. Over the next week, she started mentioning Ethan more casually. "Oh, Ethan said this funny thing in class. Ethan asked if we're still coming to the campus fest." She always said we, like we were both invited. But the invitations never actually came my way. Still, I stayed quiet. I didn't want to look desperate or jealous. But one Friday night, everything changed. We were supposed to have a girls' night, pizza, Netflix, and gossip. She told me she'd pick up the pizza on her way back. Hours passed. No text, no call. I got worried and decided to check her location. We'd shared it for safety reasons. She wasn't at the pizza place. She was at the Lakeside Cafe, the one where Ethan took me on our first study date. That was the moment I knew. My roommate, my friend, was trying to steal my crush. Would you confront your friend right away or wait to gather proof first? I sat on my bed staring at her location dot on the map. The little blue circle blinked steadily, unmoving. My chest tightened with every second that passed. Lakeside Cafe. That place used to be my safe spot. Quiet music, warm lights, the smell of coffee. Now it felt like the center of betrayal. I waited for her to come back. Each tick of the clock made me angrier. I didn't even care about Ethan anymore at that moment. I cared about the lies, the sneaky smiles, the pretending. It was almost midnight when she finally walked in. Her lipstick was slightly smudged, her hair was messy in that effortless way, and she was carrying a cup from the cafe. She froze when she saw me sitting awake. "Hey," she said quickly, setting her bag down. "Sorry I'm late. It was crazy at the pizza place." I stared at her. "You were at Lakeside Cafe." Her eyes flickered. "What? No, why would you?" "I checked your location, Mia," I said quietly. "Don't lie to me again." For a second, the room went completely still. She just stood there, her expression hard to read. Then she sighed dramatically, rolling her eyes. "Okay, fine. Yes, I met Ethan, but it wasn't like that." "Like what?" I snapped. "Like you two sitting there laughing while I waited here like an idiot? Like him texting you instead of me?" Her tone turned sharp. "You're overreacting. He just wanted to talk, that's all I laughed at, but it wasn't funny." "Talk about what, Mia? About how you pretended to be my friend while sneaking behind my back?" She crossed her arms. "You never even told him how you feel. You were just crushing from a distance. You can't claim someone you barely know." Her words hit hard. I couldn't even argue right away because a part of me knew she was twisting the truth cleverly. But she knew exactly how much I liked him. She'd read my texts, helped me plan what to say, told me to go for it. Now she stood there acting innocent, like I was the one being dramatic. You knew I liked him, I said finally, my voice shaking. And you used that against me. She smirked, a tiny cruel smile. Maybe you should have made your move sooner. That broke something inside me. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just turned around, grabbed my blanket, and lay down facing the wall. My heart hurt, but I told myself, fine. If that's how she wants to play it, I'll stop being naive. From that night on, I decided something quietly. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't argue. I'd let her think she'd won. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't reacting. It's watching everything fall apart naturally. And I had no idea how soon that would happen. If your friend betrayed you like this, would you forgive her or plan payback? After that night, everything between us changed, even though we pretended it didn't. We still said good morning, still shared our bathroom mirror, still laughed at random TikToks, but the warmth was gone. Every smile she gave me felt fake. Every word I spoke felt like walking through glass. I tried to move on. I went to class, met new people, focused on my projects, but somehow Ethan and Mia were everywhere. I'd see them walking together between lectures, laughing like they'd known each other forever. Once, I even caught her wearing his hoodie, the same one I used to secretly hug when he left it in class. She flaunted it, posting subtle pictures with vague captions like unexpected connections or fate works in strange ways. She wanted me to see. She wanted me to feel it. And I did, but I refused to let her see me break. Instead, I smiled when she showed me her new text with him, nodded when she asked what I thought of his sweet messages, and even said, I'm happy for you. Inside, though, I was done playing nice. One afternoon, I ran into Ethan alone near the campus coffee cart. He smiled when he saw me, that same easy smile that used to make my heart flip. Hey, stranger, he said. Haven't seen you in a while. I kept my tone light. Guess you've been busy with new company. He chuckled. Mia? Yeah, she's fun, but you kind of disappeared. His words surprised me. I disappeared? That's what she told him? We talked for a bit, and slowly I realized he had no clue what had actually happened. Mia had been twisting everything, telling him I wasn't interested, that I moved on, even that I was seeing someone else. She'd built a story where she was the good friend, helping me while secretly getting close to him herself. By the time we finished talking, I wasn't angry anymore. I was just clear. She'd played her game. Now it was my turn. That evening, I came back to our room, acting casual. She was sitting on her bed, scrolling through her phone. Ethan said hi, I said casually, dropping my bag. Her head shot up. Oh, you talked to him? Yeah, I smiled. He told me about your little library dates. Sounds fun. She hesitated. It's not what you think. I cut her off with a calm smile. Relax, Mia. I'm not mad. I mean, you're right. I never told him how I felt. You did what you had to do. She looked confused, almost nervous. Maybe she expected a fight, but I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. Instead, I picked up my phone and texted Ethan, hey, want to hang out sometime? Just us and like old times. If she could play subtle, so could I, because sometimes karma doesn't need to be loud. It just needs a little help. Would you stay calm like her? Or confront your roommate publicly in this situation? The moment I hit send on that message to Ethan, a strange calm settled over me. Not excitement, not fear, just quiet control. I wasn't going to steal him back. I wasn't even doing it for love anymore. This was about truth, about showing Mia that playing dirty always comes with a price. Ethan replied a few minutes later. Yeah, sure, I'd love to catch up. Tomorrow evening? My lips curved into a soft smile. I could almost feel Mia's tension across the room. She was pretending to study, but I noticed the way her fingers froze on her keyboard. She wanted to ask what he said, but pride kept her quiet. The next evening, I dressed simply. Jeans, a white top, minimal makeup. Nothing flashy, nothing trying too hard. When I told Mia I was heading out, her eyes flicked toward my phone. Where are you going? She asked casually. Just grabbing coffee, I replied with the same fake cheerfulness she'd used on me before. Don't wait up. When I reached the cafe, Ethan was already there. He looked genuinely happy to see me. And for the first time, I didn't feel nervous around him. We talked about everything. Classes, professors, random campus gossip. Eventually, he said quietly, you know, I thought you were ignoring me. Mia said you weren't into me anymore. I laughed softly. Did she now? He looked surprised. Wait, so that wasn't true? I shook my head. No, I liked you, Ethan. I just didn't realize someone else was rewriting my story. His expression changed. Confusion, then disappointment. Wow, that's messed up. We sat there a while longer, and before leaving, he said, you know, I wish I'd known sooner. That line stayed with me. The next few days were interesting. Mia kept trying to read my mood. She'd drop hints like, Ethan hasn't texted me much lately, or I think he's been busy. I'd just smile and say, yeah, maybe. Inside, though, I knew she was panicking. One night, while she was brushing her hair, she asked casually, so, did you ever end up meeting Ethan? I looked up from my laptop. Oh yeah, we talked. He's sweet. Her hand froze midair. Oh, but you didn't tell me. You didn't tell me when you started going out with him either, I said softly. She went quiet. That silence, that tiny crack in her confidence, was the beginning of her unraveling. Because once lies start falling apart, they crumble fast. And she had told a lot of lies. The next day at lunch, I noticed Ethan sitting alone. When Mia arrived and tried to sit with him, he barely looked up. She kept talking, but he just nodded distractedly. Then he saw me across the cafeteria and smiled. That was the moment she realized she was losing. And for the first time, I didn't feel hurt anymore. I felt free. Would you quietly let karma unfold like she did? Or expose your roommate's lies to everyone? After that day in the cafeteria, something shifted in the air between us. Mia was restless. I could feel it in the way she paced the room while pretending to be on her phone, or how she scrolled through Ethan's Instagram with this forced little laugh. The control she once had was slipping, and she could sense it. Ethan barely texted her anymore. She tried to play it off, saying she was bored of him, but I knew her too well. Every time her phone buzzed, her eyes lit up, only to fade when it wasn't him. And somehow she started turning her frustration toward me. She'd leave the room a mess on purpose. Forget to wash the dishes when it was her turn. Borrow my clothes without asking. Little things. but all carefully chosen to annoy me. I didn't react. That was the fun part. My silence drove her crazy. One night, while I was studying, she suddenly said, "You know, Ethan told me he only met you out of pity. He felt bad for you. I didn't even look up." "Really?" She nodded quickly, like she was waiting for a reaction. "Yeah, he said you were kind of clingy." I smiled softly. "Funny, he said the same thing about you." Her face changed instantly, and that fake confidence melting into shock. "What?" I met her eyes for the first time that night. "You should probably stop lying about people who actually liked you once." For a second, she didn't know what to say. Then she grabbed her bag and stormed out. Later that week, our college was holding an open mic night at the student lounge. Ethan was performing. He played guitar and wrote songs, something Mia used to brag about constantly. I didn't plan to go, but my friends convinced me. When we walked in, the lights were warm and low. Ethan was already on stage singing something slow, something honest, and halfway through his song, I realized the lyrics were about betrayal, about being misled by someone who pretended to care. Everyone in the audience caught on. The looks, the whispers, the way people subtly glanced toward Mia, who stood frozen near the back. When the song ended, the room clapped, loudly. Ethan smiled at me from the stage just for a second. Mia's face turned pale. She left before it was even over. That night, she didn't come back to our room until late. When she did, her eyes were red. She didn't say a word, just crawled into bed and faced the wall. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Because deep down, I knew she was finally realizing something important. You can steal attention, twist stories, play games, but you can't fake being a good person forever. Engagement. Question. Do you think Mia deserved that public embarrassment, or was it too harsh? Would you like me to continue with part 7, 500 words, where Mia tries one last desperate move to win Ethan back and turns things even messier? The next few days felt strangely peaceful. Mia barely spoke to me. She'd leave early, come back late, and pretend not to notice when I was around. I didn't ask where she went or who she saw. I didn't need to. The silence itself was satisfying. But peace never lasts long when guilt starts eating someone alive. One evening, as I was getting ready for class, Mia suddenly said, "So, you think you've won, huh?" I turned slowly. "Won what?" She laughed, sharp and bitter. "Ethan, the sympathy, the attention. Everyone's talking about that stupid song like it's your fairy tale ending." I stayed quiet, just looking at her. Her voice shook slightly. "You think he really likes you now? You think you're better than me?" I wanted to tell her it wasn't about winning or losing, but I knew she wouldn't hear it. She was too far gone in her own version of things. That weekend, our campus had a group trip. Hiking, bonfire, the usual college getaway. Ethan was going, so was Mia. I thought about skipping it, but my friends dragged me along. I figured being around people would make things less awkward. Big mistake. From the moment we got there, Mia started acting again, smiling too brightly, laughing too loud, sticking close to Ethan. It was almost funny how obvious she was being. Ethan kept his distance politely, but I could tell he was uncomfortable. That night, around the bonfire, everyone was telling stories. I was sitting with a few classmates when I overheard Mia's voice. She was talking to a group nearby, and she was talking about me. "She's not what you think," she said, pretending to whisper but loud enough for everyone to hear. "She plays the victim, but she was flirting with Ethan while pretending to be my friend." A few heads turned. I froze. My heart pounded, but I didn't move. I wanted to see how far she'd go. "She's manipulative," Mia continued, her voice dripping with fake concern. I tried to help her, but she twisted everything. Someone must have texted Ethan because he suddenly appeared, standing right behind her. The firelight flickered across his face, and his expression said everything. "Mia," he said firmly. "Enough." She spun around, startled. "Ethan, I was just—" "Stop lying," he said, his tone quiet but cutting. "You told me she didn't care about me. You said you were just being honest, but you were lying the whole time." The circle went dead silent. The only sound was the crackling fire. Mia's eyes filled with tears, out real this time. "I just didn't want to lose you," she whispered. Ethan looked at her for a long second, then said softly, "You already did." He turned and walked toward me. And in that moment, every ounce of revenge, pain, and anger in me melted into something else. Closure. Because watching her crumble wasn't about satisfaction anymore. It was about finally being free from her games. If your ex-friend publicly spread lies about you, would you confront them or let the truth expose them naturally? When Ethan walked away from the bonfire, I didn't move at first. Everything felt frozen. The night air, the sound of the flames, even my heartbeat. Everyone around us stayed quiet, pretending to scroll their phones or poke at the fire, but I knew they were all watching. Mia stood there trembling, her mascara streaking down her cheeks. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. For a moment, I almost pitied her. Almost. Ethan stopped near me, his voice was calm. "Can we talk?" I nodded. We walked a few steps away from the crowd toward the edge of the field where the stars hung low and bright. Neither of us spoke for a while. Finally, he said quietly, "I should have listened sooner. I saw what she did tonight. I'm sorry for believing her lies." I looked at him, searching for anger or pity, but his eyes only held regret. "You didn't know," I said softly. "She was good at pretending. She fooled me too." He gave a small, sad smile. "You're stronger than I thought." I laughed lightly. "No, just tired of being walked over." The wind picked up a little, carrying the sound of distant laughter from the bonfire. For the first time in weeks, I didn't feel heavy. I didn't feel jealous or betrayed or small. I just felt done, like my heart could finally breathe again. We talked for hours that night, not about love or dating, but about life, about how easily people can change when they feel threatened, about how sometimes losing people is the only way to find peace. When we finally headed back to camp, Mia was gone. I later found out she left early, saying she felt sick. She didn't come back to our dorm the next day either. When she finally did, she was quiet. No fake smiles, no late-night laughter, no pretending. She packed her things slowly over the next few days. I didn't ask where she was going, but she eventually said, "I found another place off campus." I just nodded. "Good." Before she left, she paused by the door. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said softly, almost whispering. "I just didn't want to lose." I looked at her for a long moment. "You didn't lose, Mia. You just never played fair?" She blinked, then left without another word. The room felt lighter instantly, or not, like it had been waiting to breathe. I opened the window, let the evening air in, and sat on my bed, feeling the quiet settle around me. It wasn't victory. It was peace. Sometimes karma doesn't roar. It whispers softly when everything finally makes sense. And that night, as I looked around the half-empty room, I realized losing her wasn't the end of something. It was the beginning of me. Do you think letting someone go peacefully is stronger than getting revenge? The week after Mia left felt strangely silent. No music playing from her speaker, no late-night laughter echoing from the hall, no perfume cloud lingering in the air. It was like the dorm had finally exhaled after holding its breath for too long. I spent the first few days cleaning everything, not because it was messy, but because I needed to clear the energy she left behind. Every shelf I wiped, every photo I put away, it felt like erasing a memory I no longer needed. One afternoon, I found a note tucked under my desk lamp. It wasn't from Mia, it was from Ethan. Meet me by the lakeside bench after class. I owe you a calm conversation, I smiled. Not the giddy, nervous smile I used to have, but the kind that feels grounded, steady. I went. He was already there, sitting with his hoodie up and his hands in his pockets, watching the water ripple. I sat beside him quietly. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Then he said, "You know, I kept thinking about what you said that night, about how sometimes losing people means finding peace." I looked at him. And? He smiled faintly. "I think you were right. I've been cutting out noise, people who drain me, things that don't feel honest. It's freeing." We both laughed softly, like two people who had finally stopped running. Then he said something that surprised me. "I liked you before all this, but I was scared to make things complicated. I didn't answer immediately. My heart didn't race like before. It just felt warm." "Maybe it's good that it got complicated," I said finally, "because now we know what's real." He nodded. "So where does that leave us?" I looked at the lake. Maybe nowhere yet. Maybe somewhere better. Later there was peace and not forcing it. We sat until sunset talking about random things, classes, food, plans for summer. No drama, no lies, no jealousy. Just two people trying to learn how to trust again. That night, when I went back to my room, I lit a candle and opened my journal. I wrote everything I had learned, not about betrayal or revenge, but about boundaries, truth, and self-worth. For so long, I thought love was something you had to fight for, that the one who fights hardest wins. But now I realized real love doesn't need competition. It just needs honesty. And if I ever found it again, I wanted it to come softly, without manipulation, without fear, without needing to prove anything. When I closed my journal, the candle flickered out, and for the first time in months, I felt okay being alone, because I wasn't lonely anymore, just free. Would you give love another chance after being betrayed by someone close? Or would you walk away for good? It's been 6 months since Mia left, 6 months since everything cracked open. The lies, the heartbreak, the storm that nearly broke me. Now when I look around my dorm, it doesn't feel haunted anymore. It feels like mine. There's sunlight spilling through the window, soft music in the background, and peace in the air, something I once thought I'd never feel again. Mia never came back to campus. I heard through a friend that she transferred to another college in the next city. I won't lie. Part of me was curious about her, about whether she changed or not, but I never reached out. Some doors aren't meant to reopen, even if you still wonder what's behind them. As for Ethan, we didn't rush into anything. We talked sometimes, coffee after lectures, study breaks, random texts that always ended with small smiles. He never pushed, never tried to fill the silence, and maybe that's why I started to trust him again. One day, out of nowhere, he said, "You know, I think everything happened exactly the way it had to." I laughed. "You mean the chaos?" He grinned. "Yeah, because it showed who we really are when things fall apart." And in that moment, I knew he was right. The pain, the drama, even the betrayal. It wasn't the ending of something, it was the cleansing of something fake. What was left was raw, honest, and real. That evening, as we walked by the same lake where everything had once felt broken, he stopped and said quietly, "Can I take you out?" Properly this time. No drama, no roommates, no lies. I smiled. "Only if you promise to bring peace instead of flowers." He laughed. "Deal." So yes, we did start dating. Slowly, gently, like two people who had learned what love should never feel like. There was no competition this time, just understanding. But the real story wasn't about him or Mia. It was about me, learning how to stop apologizing for being too kind, too patient, too trusting. Learning that silence can be power, and peace can be louder than revenge. Sometimes I still remember that bonfire night, the glow of the flames, the whispers in the crowd, the moment I stopped being the quiet girl everyone thought could be stepped on. That was the night I met myself again. Now, when I see couples around campus, I smile, not out of envy, but out of quiet gratitude. Because I finally learned that love isn't about winning someone's heart. It's about not losing yourself trying to. And if Mia ever hears this story, I hope she learns the same. Because in the end, the truth wasn't that she lost Ethan. The truth was that I finally found me. What's the biggest lesson you've ever learned after losing someone you thought you couldn't live without?